Have you ever felt like life started you so far behind that catching up seems impossible? This is the true story of a girl who slept on subway trains, ate from trash cans, was told she was nothing, and still walked through the gates of Harvard University. Her name is Liz, and her life changed the moment she realized, no one is coming to save me. If my life is going to change, I have to change it myself. Liz grew up in the Bronx in New York City. From the outside, it was just another small apartment in a rough neighborhood. On the inside, it felt more like a trap than a home. Her parents loved her, but they were addicted to drugs. Most of the money went to their habit, not to food. The fridge was often empty. Sometimes there was only a carton of spoiled milk. Cockroaches ran across the floor like they lived there for generations. As a little girl, Liz would sometimes chew on ice cubes just to trick her stomach into feeling full. She went to school in the same clothes, often dirty and worn. Her hair was messy, sometimes crawling with lice. Kids pointed at her in the hallway, whispered to each other, moved their desks away from hers, or wrinkled their noses when she walked by. Teachers saw a student who skipped class and couldn't keep up, not a child trying to survive the chaos at home. While other children worried about homework and tests, Liz worried about what she would find when she got back to the apartment. If there would be food, if the lights would still be on, if her parents would be okay. School wasn't her priority. Staying alive was. By her early teens, Liz was barely showing up at school at all. She would miss weeks, then months. On paper, she was still enrolled, but in reality, she was just drifting. Social workers came and went. Files were opened, closed, forgotten. Her family bounced between apartments, relatives, and shelters. Eventually, the system did what it often does with kids like her. It gave up. Around 15, everything finally collapsed. Her parents separated. Her mother's health, already fragile from HIV and addiction, got worse. Her father ended up in a shelter, and Liz became officially homeless. Imagine being 15 and having nowhere stable to sleep. Liz rode the New York City subway all night just to stay warm. She would curl up on a seat with her backpack as a pillow, getting off only when the train reached the last stop. Some nights, she crashed on friends' couches or hallways. Other nights, she stayed in stairwells or on park benches. Every night came with the same question: where am I sleeping tonight? She wasn't thinking about Harvard. She wasn't thinking about success. She was thinking about the next meal and the next place to hide from the cold. On the outside, she looked like a kid who had ruined her life. On the inside, something was quietly refusing to die. The belief that her life could be different. She just didn't know how. Not yet. The turning point came with a coffin. Liz's mother died of AIDS when Liz was still a teenager. There was no money for a big funeral, just a simple box with her mother's name written in marker. On a cold day in New York, with only a small group of people standing by the grave, Liz watched her mother's coffin lower into the ground. In that moment, something hit her harder than the grief. Her mother's life had become nothing but a sad story people whispered about. A life swallowed by addiction and poverty. A life that felt wasted. Liz looked at the coffin and understood. If I keep going like this, my life will end the same way. Nothing will change unless I do. At the graveside, she made herself a promise. She would not repeat her mother's story. Most people in her situation would say, "I'll be lucky just to survive." Liz went further. She decided to go back to high school. There was only one problem. She had almost no credits. At 17, she was technically supposed to be a senior, but on paper, she was closer to a freshman, and she was still homeless. To graduate on time, she would have to complete 4 years of high school in just 2. No stable home, no quiet desk, no private tutor, just a stubborn decision. She found an alternative high school that agreed to take her. She showed up with no transcript, no fancy recommendation letters, only a story and a burning determination to work. Teachers there were used to kids who had been written off. They gave her one chance. Liz grabbed it with both hands, studying between train rides. From that point, her life became a strange mix of chaos and discipline. During the day, she was the girl in the front row, taking notes, asking questions, collecting extra assignments to catch up. At night, she was the homeless teenager, riding trains, doing homework in subway cars and stairwells. She studied with her notebook on her knees. She memorized formulas by the light of street lamps. She wrote essays on borrowed kitchen tables in friends' tiny apartments. Slowly, the girl everybody expected to disappear started to rise to the top of her class. Teachers who had seen thousands of students watched in disbelief as this barefoot at times kid started acing exams. And yet, she still had one more impossible dream. A homeless girl aims for Harvard. One day, Liz heard about a scholarship offered by the New York Times for exceptional students who had overcome major hardship. The winner would receive money for college, enough to make the idea of university real. Her heart jumped to the wildest thought she'd ever had. What if I aimed for Harvard? On paper, it made no sense. She didn't have the background, the connections, the polished resume. She had subway tickets and shelter records. But she also had something Harvard can't print on brochures: proof she could survive anything. She poured her entire story into that application: the addiction, the hunger, the homelessness, the funeral, the decision to return to school, and the grades she'd earned in half the usual time. Weeks later, the results came. She won. Liz received the scholarship, and with it, a ticket out of the streets and into the Ivy League. The girl who once slept on dirty train seats walked through the gates of Harvard University as a student. Not a miracle, a decision, repeated every single day, even when no one was watching. What her story means for you. Her life didn't become perfect overnight. She still faced painful choices, including later transferring closer to home to care for her seriously ill father. But the pattern of her life had changed, from waiting to be rescued to choosing her next step. So what does this mean for you? Maybe you weren't homeless. Maybe your parents weren't addicts. But maybe you know what it feels like to be written off, to feel like you're too far behind, to secretly believe it's too late for you. Liz's story doesn't say everyone must go to Harvard. It says something much more powerful. Your starting point does not get the last word. Your surroundings don't have to decide your future. One promise to yourself, kept consistently, can completely rewrite your story. Somewhere right now, there's a version of you sleeping on a mental subway floor, just trying to get through another night. You don't have to stay there. Like Liz at that graveside, you can decide, maybe no one is coming to save me, but I can still save myself. One choice, one day at a time. And that decision could be your homeless to Harvard moment, whatever Harvard looks like for you.